Yes, absolutely. When I was writing Dog State, I had a gorgeous, scruffy little dog. Her name was Abby. She was only about this big. She was so tiny. She was so small that she used to, when we were on car trips, she would crawl up the side of my shoulder and lay behind my neck. And she was so small that all you could see was a little head sticking out this side and a little tail sticking out that side. But everywhere I went, Abby followed. So if I walked, Abby walked. If I stopped, Abby stopped. She loved the beach. She loved swimming in the ocean. She loved playing fetch, although she never brought anything back. I'd throw a ball, gone. I'd throw a stick, gone. Abby has passed away. She's no longer with us. She got very old. But the really lovely thing is that we have her daughter. Abby's daughter's name is Pepper. She looks just like Abby, and I think that's pretty special. So I feel like Abby lives through Pepper and also through the pages of Dog State. That's a really interesting question. So for me, when I'm writing a story, I don't usually know what inspired me to write it. And it's not until after I write the story and I look back, I start to think about all the things in my life that inspired me to write the story. So one thing that inspired me was I had written another story. It was about a grumpy old man and a possum. But when I wrote the story, I wrote it from the point of view of the possum. So that would mean that I'm looking through the eyes of the possum when I'm telling the story. But when I did that, I lost a lot of who the old man was. And I loved his gruff and stubborn personality. And it actually took me months to realize that actually I'm a writer and I can just write another story. So I swapped out the possum for a dog, and that was the beginning of Dog State, a grumpy old man and a dog. So that's what we would call a premise to the story. So that's how it all started. But of course, Abby, my dog, who was always by my side, was definitely a huge inspiration to this story. I had also lost my nan. She passed away just 1 month before the story, before I wrote it. So I know 100% that my nan is all through Dog State. And I think that's why I wrote about grief and loss. It was by accident, but I think it was a way of me understanding what had happened. There is another source of inspiration that I had completely forgotten about until recently. It is such a strange source of inspiration. I'm not sure I can even explain it, but I'll try. So what happened was I had all of Dog State, the whole story in my head. So I knew the story, but I didn't know how to write it. I didn't know the feeling or the tone or the way I wanted to write it. So I couldn't write it, and I didn't until I knew how to write it. I was in Big W one day, and across the room I saw a book, the cover, and it was called The Fantastic Flying Books of Maurice Lesmore. And I loved the cover. It had these beautiful cream colors and these dark reds and dark greens, and And I thought, that's it. That's the feeling that I want for Dog Stayed. So I went to the book, I flicked through it, and it had all the same colors through it. And I thought, that's it. And the next day, I wrote Dog Stayed. I wrote it in one day, and then the next day I broke it into page spreads. So you can see when you open a book, it's got pages 4 and 5. So then I would just write what words I wanted on that page, and the next day I sent it to my editor. But inspiration comes at its own pace. Sometimes it takes a few days, and sometimes it happens in an hour. But I would say that I spend a lot of time thinking about a story, and I don't start writing until I know exactly what the whole story is about. So yes, the strange thing about the cover of the fantastic flying books of Morris Lesmore is that 2 years later, I had not told anyone about what inspired me to write this feeling or this tone. And 2 years later, I received the cover of Dog Stayed that was illustrated by the brilliant Margot Davis, and it had the same colors as that other book. I couldn't believe it. I told you it was strange, and that I could barely explain it, but that's what it was. Somehow I put the colors into words. Oh, I think I chose to write about dogs because I love dogs, and probably because of Abby, because she was my pet and I loved her very much. And dogs are just the best. They're so loyal, and I needed an animal that was going to be loyal, because who else was going to put up with that grumpy old man, Mr. Hindbottom? And I just love the way they wag their tails when they're happy. So I wish I could say that I had been writing and had a dream of writing since the moment I was born, and that I've been writing all through my life, but that's not the case. It all happened in September 2020, so that's quite a few years ago now. But it had everything to do with my son. So my son, he's a real action kid. He loves moving, he loves playing with things. So he loves Lego, he loves racing BMX bikes. The problem was he didn't like reading, and that it made me so upset because I love reading. So I decided to write a story for him, and that's what I did. I wrote a story about a BMX kid, and he loved it. But something strange happened. I fell in love with writing, and I have been writing ever since. So I wrote him a chapter book, but after I finished it, I thought I could actually write anything I wanted to. What would I love to write more than anything in the world? And I thought I would love to write picture books. And so that's what I did. Definitely. I am always writing. I've probably got around 25 to 30 stories that I finished. 10 of them I would say that I've written, edited, are completely finished and ready to go to publishers. And then I've probably got another 10 or 15 that I've finished, but I'm a bit stuck. I don't think they're good enough. So they're just sitting there waiting. But the problem is that I was so busy writing and editing, and I love it so much that I just didn't think about getting any more books published. And it wasn't until Dog's Day came out and some really lovely people gave me some really lovely feedback on how much they liked the story that I thought, oh, I want to get more books published. So I have just started submitting more stories, and hopefully you will see some more of my stories on bookshelves and in your library in the future. Fingers crossed.